Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya. What's the subtitle? Remember? Celebrating.
50th anniversary.
No. You're too much tuned into the ISKCON advertisements. Celebrating Srila Prabhupada's what? Preeminent position. He's the main person. He's the one around whom all our relationships revolve. All our Diksha Guru, Shiksha Gurus, parents, children, whatever relationship you have in ISKCON, if it's Prabhupada-centered, it's healthy. Celebrating Srila Prabhupada's preeminent position in ISKCON as well as every follower's foundational relationship with him. He's our foundation, as we're going to see in this lesson especially. So where did I say Srila Prabhupada was in the picture last night?
Bhaktivedanta Manor.
Right, again, another Bhaktivedanta Manor photo. Prabhupada spent a lot of time at the Manor, especially in 1973. Because Shyamsundar Prabhu, who was the GBC then actually, he knew the trick, he knew the art of keeping Prabhupada in a place. You had to keep bringing the VIPs to speak with him, because Prabhupada liked to speak to people who could influence others. You know, politicians, historians, scholars, movie stars, you know, you name it. Media people. At the end of the last lesson, we took a look at the unfulfilled phase of our founder Acharya's movement. The demonstration of a spiritually classless society through the development of Daiva Varnashram communities. Living the way Krishna lives, in a natural village setting, such communities would offer us and the world a practical vision of how Krishna culture works on earth. The Lord's positive alternative to the suffering and impersonalism imposed by misdirected modern civilization. Mobiles off? Anybody have a mobile? No. Yet, since many of us were born and raised in Kali's cities and suburbs, we may find ourselves neither ready, willing, nor able to follow Srila Prabhupada into the Varnashram frontier. And we may wonder what our place is in our founder Acharya's greater mission to re-spiritualize humanity. In this lesson, we'll take a look at how to find our natural place in our founder Acharya's worldwide movement, with the help of senior devotees thoroughly grounded in Srila Prabhupada's life, teachings, mood, and mission. Okay, some people don't even know that this is a mission. Some people think maybe it's just a vegetarian club, or it's a Lonely Hearts Club where you can join and you get married. I mean, sure, we eat, we sleep, we mate, we defend. But mainly it's a mission, where when you're in Prabhupada's Sangha, you're part of a mission to go back to Godhead personally. That's our personal mission, and to take as many people with us as are willing. So, okay. Finding our mission and his mission is largely about finding mentors. What's a mentor? You know, Malati?
Mentor, person who guides.
Yeah, good. It's about finding mentors who can help us make our best contribution to Srila Prabhupada's Hare Krishna movement. All right. Whoop. Would help if I put we call this in American slang, a doohickey. All right, do they call it a widget? Is it a widget? What's a widget? That's a computer term, I think. Importance of doing our own duty. There are only two places in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna repeats himself. Does anybody know a pair of verses where Krishna repeats himself in the first line? He does it twice. There's two pair of verses where Krishna repeats himself. Now think about it. How many verses are there in the Vedas? Billions, literally. Sometimes you hear 10 billion, whatever. How many verses in the Bhagavad Gita?
700.
Yeah, and the Gita is called, even by Acharya, as the quintessential of essentials. Every verse in the Gita sums up tens of millions of verses in the Vedas. It's essential Veda. It's Veda concentrate. So if Krishna, in only 700 verses, if he repeats himself twice, then you know it's got to be important, those verses, because each verse in the Gita sums up so many of millions of Vedic verses. So does anybody know where Krishna repeats himself? He does. I'll give you a hint. He repeats himself in two verses about thinking of him, and in two verses about doing one's own duty. Anybody know the verses? Very good. Manmana, does everybody know that? Let's say it. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mang namaskuru ma me vaishyasi. Now what's the next word? In 934 it's yuktvaivam, and then in 1865 it's satyam te, right? Krishna ends those verses a little differently, but he starts them the same way. Atmanang vatparayanaha or pratijani priyosime. It's about thinking of him. That's engage your mind always in thinking of me, offer obeisances and worship me, surely being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. That's 934. Similar, 1865. Now, it's understandable why Krishna would repeat thinking of him, because that's the goal of life, especially at the time of death. If we pass the final exam, we got to think of Krishna, and it's not easy, because imagine, everything is, you're leaving your body, You have to leave everything behind, including your body. So it's very disturbing. Have you ever moved before? Moving is like dying. It's like transmigrating. I'm always doing it. It's so painful. It's just like... so imagine when you have to move out of your body. So don't, it's just a little tiny practice when you have to move from one place to another. Okay, there's two verses where Krishna talks about the importance of doing one's own duty. Anybody know? They're very similar. The first full Sanskrit line is the same in each verse. 335 and 1847. Shreyan svadharmo vigunak paradharmat svanushtita. Where Krishna says, it is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties than another's duties. That's the same in both verses. And then in 335 he said, destruction, well, let's read it. Okay. All right.
It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than others' duties perfectly.
Okay. So, see, that was Arjuna. He's a fighter. He was born and raised and trained as a... But he wanted to imitate a sadhu and leave the battlefield and go off and be a humble sage. And then...
Destruction is in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous.
Why is it dangerous to do somebody else's duty?
Because it is against the nature.
Yeah, it's against your nature. Right, very good. And Krishna says that to Arjuna in the last chapter. He says, look, if you don't fight this war, you're going to fight anyway, but you're going to fight you're going to fight for the wrong cause. So just surrender and do what I say and fight. And then here's how it is in 1847. Malati, why don't you read that?
It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may
perform it imperfectly, then to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly.
Okay, same idea. Then he ends it a little differently.
Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions.
All right, because that was Arjuna's main objection. Look, this is sinful, Krishna. How can we fight this war and kill our gurus and the women will be unprotected and no more welfare activity, you know, all this Dharma Shastra reasons. So Krishna is assuring him, look, if you fight this war, this is your duty and it's a good war and the good guys, you're fighting for the good guys. There'll be no sinful reactions, don't worry, you know, even though it looks bad, but it's good. Okay, so if thinking of Krishna, especially at the time of death, is the perfection of life, why does the Gita place equal emphasis on duty? Because knowing and doing our duty is the way we express our bhakti, our devotion to Krishna. In other words, when we know what Krishna wants us to do, then when we do it, that helps us think of him. If you don't want to do what Krishna wants you to do, then you don't want to think of him, because you always feel guilty, right? Okay. In every age we are born ignorant, but especially in the age of Kali, we often have difficulty knowing who we are and what our duty is. So we're going to look at why that's true in Kali Yuga. Anybody know who that is? Who said, "Know thyself"? The unexamined life is not worth living. This person said it. Socrates. He's the only Western philosopher that Prabhupada liked. Why? Do you know? Because he knew he wasn't his body. What's going on here? There's a famous painting called The Death of Socrates. Socrates, he preached the immortality of the soul. And somehow, you know, the powers that be in Athens, Greece, didn't like that. Somehow it went against their doctrine. And they thought he was disrespecting the gods. They were demigod worshippers, basically. And they were actually of the generations that came from India that Parashuram chased out of India. They're called the Pulindas, Prabhupada says in the purport. So, the court at Athens said, look, you're corrupting the youth with your so-called teaching and you're disrespecting the gods, so we sentence you to death. And the way he had to die, they said, was by drinking poison. So this is the poison, hemlock. Poison hemlock. So he could have escaped, actually. His friends, this person here, Credo, tried to convince him, look, we can get you out of here. But Socrates thought, no, I know that I'm not going to die, it's just going to be the body, and it's time for me to go anyway. He was 70 years old, and he'd done as much as he could in Athens, and now he was, you know, being forced out. So there's a tearful disciple handing him the headlock, and then they said, well, after you die, Socrates, where should we bury you? So Socrates, this is what Prabhupada likes, Socrates said, oh, you can bury me anywhere you like, if you can actually catch me and I don't escape you. In other words, I'm not the body. You can bury this corpse, but you're not going to catch me, you're not going to bury me. So Prabhupada liked Socrates because he was actually Brahman realized. He realized he wasn't his body. Okay, so he's famous for saying, know thyself. The unexamined life is not worth living. Now, almost 2,000 years later, this was around, what was it, 399 BC, you know, before Christ, 400, and then if you fast forward 1,500 years after Christ, and that's 1900 plus 64 years is when Shakespeare was born in 1564. And he lived till 1616, 52 years. Okay, so practically 2,000 years later, Come in. Trick or treat. Come on in, Prabhu. They say that in India, trick or treat? You don't have that in India. We have this weird holiday in America called Halloween.
Halloween.
You've heard of this?
Yes.
It's almost as weird as Holi. I mean, you know, I know originally Holi is holy, but the way they just throw colors at each other. Anyway, okay, so there's Shakespeare, and he famously put these words in the mouth of one of his characters. This, above all, to thine own self be true. That appeared in a famous play called Hamlet. And there was a character, Polonius, who was advising his son Laertes, this above all, to thine own self be true. But what Polonius meant by self was a kind of worldly self-interest. We say, watch your back, know who your friends are, protect your interests. It was a worldly, earthly self. So it was a downgrade, really, from Socrates' understanding of the self as spirit, not body. And then, fast forward to nowadays, there's a magazine in America, probably don't have it in India, it's called Self. Self magazine. But it's not about the Atma. It's not even about the mind. What do you think it's about? It's about the body, and they've always got, well-toned, well-shaped bodies on the cover of Self, and how you can, have better biceps and better breasts and better abdomens, and that's... Yeah. So, where's this going now? So you see in Kali Yuga the progression from spirit to mind to body in terms of conceiving what the self is. So, now I'm going to put a question on the screen, and you have to tell me how Prabhupada answers it, how the next audio you're going to hear, Prabhupada's going to answer the question. You have to tell me how Prabhupada's quote answers this question. Here's the question, Prabhuji. Read that.
In Kali Yuga, why is it so difficult to know who we are and what our duty is?
Okay, so think about what we just talked about in the degradation of the idea of what the self is, from Socrates to Shakespeare to Self magazine. I mean, now they even say, when you can walk around with your cell phone or and do a selfie. Everybody's like so self-absorbed, it's insane. It's completely insane. I mean, the President of the United States, he does selfies,
Here also the craze exists.
What?
It's very crazy out here.
Yeah, it's gotten so, we say narcissistic, self, just totally, total Maya, right? Okay, so here's Prabhupada, he's going to answer this question. What's the question again? In Kali Yuga, why is it so difficult to know who we are and what our duty is? And here's Prabhupada addressing the World Health Organization in Geneva, Switzerland in June 1974.
The basic civilization is Varnashram Dharma. If the Varnashram Dharma is not properly protected, then there will be population who are called Varnashram, mixed population.
So the question was, in Kali Yuga, why is it so difficult to know who we are and what our duty is? How does Prabhupada's answer that? How does Prabhupada's statement answer that?
Because Varna Sankara is a population who are not born out of Garbhadan Samskara. They're just born out of ignorance and passion.
Yes,
So,
right.
But obviously they carry those energies with them.
Right, as one social critic quipped not long ago, most people are born out of a bottle of beer on Saturday night.
Yes. Yeah,
You know,
correct.
men and women get drunk, come together, have sex, and out pops some import from the lower planets. You know, there's no idea what life is for. It's just some crazy party.
And another one, Shankara, is when two men and women from different ashrams, I mean not ashrams, varnas, coupled together, and then the child which is born is a one Shankara, because if a Brahmana and a Kshatriya, Brahmana husband and a Kshatriya wife.
Yeah. Yeah, Prabhupada talks about this. It's anulom, pratilom, I forget. I think pratilom is the one where the woman is higher.
Yeah.
And that's really messed up, because she wants to look up to the man, and if he's of a lower consciousness, it's very difficult. It can be overcome with Krishna consciousness, but it's hard. Okay, so have you noticed in yourself maybe? I mean, I once figured out, after I'd been in the movement for some years, that I was born in December 46, and that's AD. AD means, that's a joke. It means after Christ. You know.
Yeah,
Right. They say, what do they say now? CE, Christian era. So I was born in December 1946. My parents got married in May 1946, so I started counting one day. June, July, August, September, October. My mother was already 2 months pregnant when they got married. So I wasn't, obviously there was no samskar, it was just like, okay, whoops, we better get married, you know. So that's the difference between, you know, conception nowadays for a lot of people and conception in a culture of samskar. So that produces a population which very often is very mixed up, because you see in your, maybe you see in your own consciousness really severely conflicted tendencies, you know, toward activity. You see sattvic elements, you see tamasic, rajasic. So small wonder that professions like life coaching, do they have this in India, life coaching?
Yes.
And occupational therapy are now growth industries.
Yes.
To understand who we are and what our duty is, we Kali Yugans, disconnected from a varnashram culture of self-realization, need help. The first help a spiritual culture provides is spiritual parents. So there's a nice, I was really pleased to see this. I found on the internet, you know, a Vaishnavi mother, you know, reading a Krishna conscious book. Well, it's from Desire Tree, yeah. So, that's the first help. Guru Ma, mother's the first guru. We say mother tongue. We learn our language from the mother. And hopefully there's a father in the picture, although I just read I heard in the news that now in America, no, it was all across Latin America. That means all the way from Mexico, which is right next to America, all the way down to the bottom of South America. Most mothers now are unwed. Most mothers are single moms. Most. That's not the, you know, the exception, it's the rule. So Kali Yuga, I mean, it's just getting worse and worse. You're lucky if you have two parents. You're very lucky. Okay, so now contrast that to Lord Rishabhdev when he talks about the responsibility of being a parent and other kinds of leaders.
One who cannot deliver his dependents from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod.
Quote, Mrs. Prabhupada, this is real contraceptive method. If you think that, quote, if a child is born, I shall educate him in such a way that this birth will be his last birth. Next he is going back to home, back to Godhead. then, Prabhupada says, produce a child, if that's your mentality. In other words, people have forgotten what the purpose of conception is. Sex has been reduced to contact sport. It's not, Otherwise, Prabhupada says, don't produce. This is spiritual contraceptive. This is real father and mother. Otherwise, a dog is also becoming a father. The such kind of father becoming is not recommended in the Vedic civilization. Now, just become a real father to give the real benefit to the son. Then you become a father. Okay, so it's quite a responsibility, bringing a child into the world. Now, there was once an incident, or a letter actually. One of my god sisters, she was, when book distribution first came in, she really wanted to, get aboard the book distribution bandwagon and start distributing books, and she wanted to increase her deity worship, but she had a year-old child, son. So she was conflicted about this. I want to do book distribution, I want to increase the deity worship, but I'm a mom. She felt like the child was a handicap or something. So she wrote Prabhupada about this. Srila Prabhupada, I was thinking, can I want to do book distribution, I want to increase my deity worship, but I have my son. Can I give him to some friends to take care of while I do these activities? So Prabhupada wrote a letter back. It became a famous letter because Prabhupada was so surprised. He said, I'm simply surprised that you're asking me if you can give your boy, to some friends. Just know that for you, child worship is your deity worship. Now look, Prabhupada said, if you want to do your duty properly, take care of your boy very carefully. He should be with you all the time, at least until he's 5, Prabhupada said. And then we're going to start a Gurukula, and then you can put him in the Gurukula. But don't think like this now. And Prabhupada said, if you can't take care of your boy like this, then you send him to me and I will take care of him. It was quite a shock. And what else did Prabhupada say? These children are not ordinary children. They are Vaikuntha children. They've advanced a lot in their previous life in Krishna consciousness, and now they've come to finish up. So you have a great responsibility. So that was Prabhupada's. That's where the phrase Vaikuntha children, there was a book written by Urmila Mataji called Vaikuntha Children, about Gurukula, raising children. Besides good parents, we also need good teachers and spiritual masters. Okay. So, let's remember a little bit the history of Dhruva Maharaj and Narada Muni. Okay. So, Dhruva, what was his varna? Kshatriya. Yes. And when he was 5 years old, what happened? There was a big incident.
He wanted to sit on the lap of his father, but his step-mother's son was sitting already, and she stopped him. And she said, he asked her, what if I have to sit on the father's lap? She said, that means you'll have to be born from my womb. And then he goes back to his mom and he laments. And she says, okay, you go to the forest.
Well, don't go too far yet. Yeah. She was so nasty. Your mother was not the favorite queen. I'm the favorite queen. Her name was Suruchi. And Dhruva's mother was Suniti. Yeah. So, she said that. Unless and until you're born from my womb, you can't sit on the king's lap. So Dhruva, he's only 5, but he's been insulted, and you don't insult a Kshatriya even if he's 5 years old. So he became furious and crying and furious. He goes to his mother, and then Suniti, she's a humble lady, she said, well, my dear son, actually it's true, I'm not the favorite queen. So I can't really, she couldn't really lobby, she couldn't advocate for her son's cause, because she wasn't the favorite queen. But she said, I think only God can help you, Dhruva. And the saintly persons say that they find God in the forest. So maybe you'll have to take your case to God. So he goes to the forest, right? And who does he meet? Narada Muni. So Narada Muni starts preaching to him. And he says this, you read.
Narada to Dhruva. One should try to keep himself satisfied in any condition of life, whether distress or happiness, which is offered by the Supreme Will. A person who endures in this way is able to cross over the darkness of nescience very easily.
Yes. My dear Dhruva, if you want to be, he could see Dhruva was so upset, so disturbed. So if you want to be peaceful, just understand that everything's happening for a reason, and then just accept your lot in life as given by God. And anyway, you're only 5 years old, so why don't you just, why don't you go home now? Go back to your mom. So Dhruva was furious, and he said, my dear master, I know what you said is wise and everything, but those are instructions for a nice, well-behaved little Brahmin boy, and I'm not a Brahmin, I'm a Kshatriya, and I've been insulted. So whatever it takes, I've got to avenge this insult. I want to see, I want a darshan with the Supreme Lord. So, let's see. Yeah. All right, so read that.
Dhruva to Narada. My dear Lord, I am very impudent for not accepting your instructions. But this is not my fault. It is due to my having been born in a Kshatriya family. Therefore, your valuable instruction does not stand in my heart.
So when Dhruva said that to Narada realized that he really had some precocious boy in his hands, and so he adjusted his instructions. He actually gave him the process to see God according to the Ashtanga Yoga system, which takes how long to perfect usually? In Satya Yuga. 60,000 years. How long did it take Dhruva to perfect it? 6 months. So Dhruva was intense. So Dhruva actually, by informing Narada, reminding Narada of his background, helped Narada adjust his instructions so that Dhruva could be helped. So, let's read Prabhupada's purport in that connection.
Dhruva Maharaj indirectly informed the great sage Narada that there are 4 kinds of human spirit: the Brahmanical spirit, the Kshatriya spirit, the Vaishya spirit, and the Shudra spirit. The spirit of one caste is not applicable to the members of another. The philosophical spirit initiated by Narada Muni might have been suitable for a Brahmana spirit, but it was not suitable for a Kshatriya. Dhruva frankly admitted that he was lacking in Brahmanical humility and was therefore unable to accept the philosophy of Narada Muni. Unless a child is trained according to his tendency, there is no possibility of his developing his particular spirit. It was the duty of the spiritual master or teacher to observe the psychological movement of a particular boy and thus train him in a particular occupational life.
Interesting that Prabhupada uses the word spirit. What does he mean? Brahman spirit, Kshatriya spirit.
Consciousness.
Yeah, mood, mentality, psychology. Because spirit is we usually hear spirit in connection with nothing material, but here it's the mood, it's the mentality, the psychology of a particular person, which is very important between spiritual master and disciple. Since spiritual masters play such crucial roles in helping us find our mission in Prabhupada's mission, let us look at how to select our spiritual masters. Well, let's first of all hear Prabhupada say this, of how it's important that the master know the mood, the spirit of a disciple, the psychology. Here's Prabhupada saying this in Vrindavan, I think it's September 76.
The spiritual master is saying that you want like this. That is natural. That's why in the school, college, somebody is being trained up as a scientist, somebody is trained up as an engineer, as a medical man, as a lawyer. They are according to the tendency, practical psychology. So of the student, he is advised that you take this life. So by the instruction of the Guru, the real purpose is Krishna consciousness. And according to his Guru and Karma, he is engaged in a particular vocational duty.
Right. One time a devotee wrote Prabhupada complaining about another, he was a sannyasi, was complaining about another sannyasi, that this other sannyasi wasn't giving any money to the book fund, the BBT. So Prabhupada wrote back a letter saying, it's not his duty to give money to he's building a rural community. He's not like you out there collecting money, and sending to the book fund. So don't worry about him, you just do your own duty. Don't you think, Prabhupada said, don't you think the spiritual master knows how to engage different kinds of people in different ways? Yeah, it was interesting. Okay, so to determine our prescribed duty, we need help. Okay, let us look at how to, since it's so, as I said, since spiritual masters play such crucial roles in helping us find our mission in Prabhupada's mission, let us look at how to select our spiritual masters. So I was there for this. I was sitting right at Prabhupada's lotus feet. I don't remember him saying it, so I'm grateful we have these recordings. You're going to hear Prabhupada quoting Shastra about how to select a spiritual master. There's Prabhupada chanting japa in his rooms in Los Angeles. The quote, he was in Miami, Florida, for this quote.
Nobody should accept blindly any guru, but nobody should blindly accept any teacher. They must behave one another, at least for 1 year. This is the instruction by Naruto Moody, everybody of the life.
What does Prabhupada mean by they must behave one another? It wasn't exactly the right word. What did he mean?
Check out each other's attitudes.
Check out, examine, test. And this is not something Prabhupada made up. It's right in the CC, where Lord Chaitanya is instructing Sanatana Goswami that he has to write a book called Hare Bhakti Vilas. Your book, Hare Bhakti Vilas, should describe the characteristics of the bona fide guru and the bona fide disciple. Then before accepting a spiritual master, one can be assured of the spiritual master's position. Similarly, the spiritual master can also be assured of the disciple's position. That's right in a purport, a CC. CC Madhya Lila 24.330. And now, here's another spoken reference. Prabhupada was lecturing on the Bhagavatam in Hawaii, and he said this, quote, in Hare Bhakti Vilas by Sanatana Goswami, it is directed that the spiritual master and the disciple must meet together at least for 1 year, so the disciple may also understand that, quote, here is a person whom I can accept as my guru. And the guru also can see that here is a person who is fit for becoming my disciple. Then the business is nice. Do we do that in ISKCON? We do. We, spiritual master, prospective guru and disciple meet together for a year?
Not directly, but
Directly
through the
to
counselors, mentors.
Yes, that's what Prabhupada did. He was traveling all over, remember I said, he was traveling all over the world and he depended on his temple presidents.
Yes.
to vet, to check out. Now, that said, what did we hear Prabhupada say at the beginning of this seminar? How many gurus does he want? Hundreds and millions of gurus. He really wants the guru-disciple culture to be more local. He doesn't want fly-ins and fly-outs, and indirect. That's what you have to do in an emergency, but Prabhupada wants to stabilize ISKCON and make it more real. Here's another reference. This is in the first full Gita lecture Prabhupada ever gave, and this is before ISKCON started. This is in the Bowery on March 2nd, 66, so it's winter still. Listen to this, quote, "Acceptance of spiritual master must be selected, you see, after careful examination, just like one selects his bride or bridegroom. After careful examination," in other words, Prabhupada's giving an example to try to impress how serious it is. People, at least less and less, but I mean, in a sane society, people before they get married, they're careful about it, right? So how much more careful is this kind of relationship, guru and disciple? Now, even before the mutual examination process, it is important that senior devotees help ground the candidate in the life, teachings, mood, and mission of our foundational spiritual master. We already all have a foundational guru in our founder Acharya. Such grounding will enable the candidate to aspire for initiation with a cool head. Quote, "Who will best guide and engage me in Srila Prabhupada's mission?" Not somebody who doesn't even know you, who doesn't know your psychology, your spirit, right? It's got to be some real relationship here. Too often there's not enough, but we got to improve that in ISKCON. To help our prospective spiritual masters know how to engage us in Srila Prabhupada's mission, we need to be educated and trained, honest and introspective. Now, remember how Socrates said, "Know thyself"? Well, we say, "Know thyself for Krishna," because we're not selfies. Who are we? And Krishna says in Gita 4:35, "And when you have thus learned the truth, you will know that all living beings are but part of me, that they are in me and are mine." We are part and parcel of Krishna. We're little sparks of Krishna. He's like the big fire, we're like the spark. So we say, "Know thyself for Krishna." Our self-realization means in relationship to our beloved source, Krishna. Now, look at this. Ask yourself. This is a little introspective exercise, and Prabhupada liked us to be introspective. Look at this quote. Ooh, that's the wrong one. Hey, how come I knocked that out? I had a quote here. I'm surprised I deleted it. Anyway. Well, I had a quote. I have to go back to my notes and see why it's not there now. There's a quote from third canto purport. Prabhupada says, "A devotee is as thoughtful as a non-devotee is speculative." Did I mention that before? Yeah. Isn't that interesting? A devotee is as thoughtful as a non-devotee is. So what is the distinction in this context between being thoughtful and being speculative? How is a devotee's thoughtfulness different from mental speculation?
Because when you think, then you have some basis to think.
So what's the basis? What's our basis?
Books are the basis. And,
okay. Guru, sadhu, shastra. Our thinking is, we apply it in terms of those reference points. Whereas the speculator is just, his mind's all over the place. He has no...
Absorption of thoughts, absorption.
Yeah, but how the mind is absorbed. The mind's always going, so it's either going to be all over the place, all over the material energy, gross or subtle, or we train the mind to take shelter of Guru, the words of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. There was once a letter, Prabhupada was explaining in a letter the difference between mental speculation and philosophical speculation. Very interesting. Prabhupada said mental speculation is, he gave the example of the taste of water. Now, the taste of water, if for a non-devotee, you just taste the water and then you mentally speculate, you imagine what it is. You know, the chemical properties, and you just, there's a whole branch of philosophy. It's basically just language. And they try to think of what is red. What is red? You know, they just try to imagine what red is. And they just go infinitely speculate about things like that. And with mental speculation, no matter how far you travel with it, like it says you say Brahma Samhita every morning in this temple, what does it say? Vayoratapi manaso munipungavanam. You can ride at the speed of mind, it says, and Lord Brahma said, for hundreds and millions of years and never even approach the rays coming from Prapadasimnya Vachintya Tattve, the rays coming from the toenails of Krishna's lotus feet. You'll never even approach that. It's way beyond the capacity of the mind to imagine or speculate or conceive. It's inconceivable, Krishna. So then Prabhupada said, if to philosophically speculate about the taste of water means you accept Krishna's statement, rasa aham. I am the taste of water, Krishna says. And then when you taste water, you think how that's true. Especially it's a good example if you get pure water, then you can taste real water, you know, water as it is. And you'll think how sweet it is, how satisfying it is, how pure it is. Yeah, that's Krishna. Rasa aham, rasoham apsukonteya. So a devotee is as thoughtful as a non-devotee is speculative. So we're meant to be thoughtful. We're meant to be thinking, you know, in terms of Guru Sadhu Shastra and introspective like that. So, that said, here are some Krishna conscious exercises we can do in terms of thinking like that. Read that.
And what 5 things do I care about most?
Because whatever we really care about, we're going to be thinking of at the time of death. Is it going to be cricket? Right? Is it going to be, I don't know, you know, think of anything. So, 5 things do I care about most? That's something maybe we don't think about every day, right? But there are things that we really care about, and that's what's going to carry us to our next body. How about the next one?
If I had all the money I needed, what would I do?
Usually we limit ourselves because, I don't have the money to do that. I wish I could do that. I don't have the money. What if you had the money? What would you do? What if money were no object? Malati, read that.
If I knew I had 1 year to live, what would I do?
What would I do? Do they have this thing in India called the Make-A-Wish Foundation? You ever heard this?
Yes.
It's for children with terminal diseases, and so they give the child, they say, what's your wish? I want to go to Disneyland. You know, so they'll fly him to Disneyland. Or, you know, where do they go in India? What's their...
They take to the airplane, a helicopter, they take the celebrities to meet them.
Okay.
Or the heroes.
Yeah, I mean, that's so pathetic, right? This is what the child's gonna... It's gonna go to... Those who worship Bollywood will go to Bollywood. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So what would I do? This is Pariksha Maharaj. He was cursed to die in a week. He knew he had notice. What did he do? He sat down on the bank of the Ganges, didn't eat or drink. All right, what's my duty? What's the most important thing? And then Shukadev came. All right.
Doing which service do I most forget time?
Maybe we can take a little survey here. You ever think about that? Is it what's your what particular now? Don't be general. You know, don't say sing or or preach, or, I mean, that could be true, but is there some specific, very specific service doing which you forget time? Because if you can think of that, if you can identify that, that's a big hint of what you should develop, work on as being your ultimate contribution, your mission in the mission. Anybody know?
Whenever Pujari Seva.
Yeah? Wow.
Because I used to do Pujari Seva in Singapore, the Gauranga Center.
Uh-huh.
So if I go for Shainarti or any Arti, 2.5 or 3 hours goes. If you go for Shainarti, you start at 8 and then you just come out after cleaning everything, putting it to rest.
Right.
It's already 11, but it's just like it's 5 minutes only.
Wow. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, it's so much you, it's so much your Swadharma, Swakarma, Swabhav, that you just, it's what you're meant to do. You just forget time because you love it, right? Okay, here's the last one.
If I trusted Krishna would help me, what mission would I dare to undertake?
Sometimes we're just afraid, right? Oh, I'd love to do that, but I could never do that. I'm too this. I'm not smart enough, strong enough, pretty enough, wealthy enough. I don't have enough time. So, but if I really wanted to do it, then don't you think Krishna will help you do it? I mean, if it's really, that's why you need a spiritual master, because the spiritual master will help you understand if that's really you, or if it's really worthwhile, or, but, yeah. So, most people don't really pursue their dreams, because they just don't think it's possible. They die frustrated. The American philosopher, who was it? I think Henry David Thoreau. They were big readers of the Gita, Thoreau and Emerson. So Thoreau said, the masses of people, they lead lives of quiet desperation. Sad, huh? That's Kali Yuga. Okay, so these are little, sort of a look within exercise, Krishna conscious version. Now, really, to find our mission in the mission, we have to get back to Prabhupada's words, his spoken and written word. There's Prabhupada laying the foundation for the Bhaktivedanta Swami Gurukula in 1975, September 13th. And there's the late Surabi Maharaj who designed the building, who just passed away this year. Yeah. So this is the next few slides is a reminder that our Prabhupada, he's really the foundational guide for finding our mission in his mission. And here we go. Oop. Okay.
All gurus and disciples are dependent on their founder Acharya, as the building is dependent on his founder.
Right.
As neglecting the foundation eventually collapses a building, so neglecting our founder Acharya, his life, teachings, mode and mission eventually collapses guru-disciple relationships with, as history has shown, devastating consequences.
Right. I took this from Shiva Ramaswami's book, The Shiksha Guru, and he had a chapter in there on the importance of the founder Acharya, and he made this point, even in ISKCON's relatively recent history. We've had these experiences where when Prabhupada's not the focus of guru-disciple relationships, and this is what happens. It can really get off track and have devastating consequences, as Maharaj put it. So, to learn from our society's past mistakes and move forward with Srila Prabhupada, all gurus and disciples must absorb themselves in the life teachings, mood and mission of our founder Acharya, immersing ourselves in our founder Acharya's mission with the intent to cooperatively serve. is the best way to connect and grow with spiritual masters who can help us find our mission in his mission. As the lesson's final slide will now remind us, Srila Prabhupada's mission is to engage everyone from all walks of life in devotional service to Krishna. So if the Varnashram lesson seemed a little daunting or challenging, that we could never actually follow Prabhupada under the Varnashram frontier, now here's where we're reminded that whatever our background is, our walk of life, our calling, there's a place for us to do that in Prabhupada's mission. This is going to be from a purport to Bhagavatam 1.5.32. All right, Manaji.
It does not matter what one is. One must dedicate everything in the service of the Lord. If one is a learned scholar, scientist, philosopher, poet, etc., then he should employ his learning to establish the supremacy of the Lord. Similarly, if one is a businessman, an industrialist, an agriculturist, etc., then one should spend his hard-earned money for the cause of the Lord. One should try to engage in the service of the Lord, everything for which one has specific attraction, and that is the way of peace and prosperity, and that is the remedial measure for all the miseries of material existence.
Yes, everything for which one has specific attraction. The United States Marines used to have this advertisement, this recruitment slogan, "Are you good enough to get in?" Very exclusive kind of challenge, you know. Are you tough enough? Are you good enough to get in? Now contrast that to the United States Navy. They had their recruitment slogan around that time too. It's like a counterpoint to the Marines. Be all you can be. Go Navy. So it's kind of, you know, that's when we're talking about following the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga, you know, taking initiation vows. It's almost like the Marines. You know, are you good enough? Can you do this your whole life? Follow these vows and chant 16 rounds and, you know, give your life to the mission. And now the Varnashram approach is more like be all you can be from whatever walk of life. Okay, you're not ready yet for initiation or vows, but still you can participate from any level. So anyway, Prabhupada is, in this purport, he's really inviting people from all walks of life, whatever their situation is, to stay in their position, as Prabhupada would quote Bhagavatam, sthane stitak shrudigatang tanuvan manobhir. Just stay in your natural position and hear about Krishna and contribute to the Krishna consciousness mission. One should try to engage in the service of the Lord, everything for which one has specific attraction. And that is the way of peace and prosperity. And that is the remedial measure for all the miseries of material existence. Because as Prabhupada knows, when people do that, they will actually advance. They'll come closer to Krishna. And eventually they will fall in love with Krishna. And they will get spiritual strength. And they will want to give up the lower stuff. So that's Prabhupada's invitation to the world. Lesson outcomes. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to explain the importance of knowing and doing one's own duty, as well as why that can be difficult to know what our duty is, because we're kind of mixed bags of tricks in Kali Yuga. We'll be able to identify mentors who can help us find our mission in life. Where did it start? The mentors. Who was the first mentor? The mother. Right? Parents, teachers, gurus, and the foundational person is the founder Acharya. Identify the responsibilities of prospective guru and prospective disciple. So the disciple takes time, should get to know the person going to take initiation from, and really has to be convinced, this is a person I could really surrender to. I'm convinced this person is going to properly engage me in Prabhupada's mission. Just like there's different kinds of devotees. So some devotees are attracted to drama, and some are attracted to science, and some are attracted to sales, and some are attracted to puja, and, or singing, or, So if I were a new person today coming to ISKCON, I would be getting to know myself in relationship to the mission. Then I would look around and see, well, what guru is absorbed in that aspect of the mission that I'm attracted to, because then I could see who could best engage me. And maybe we don't even know ourselves that well, but we do need to connect with people, senior devotees, who can help us understand ourselves a little better. But once we do that, then we should really use that to make an informed, cool-headed choice about who to connect with to be disciple of. Shiksha, Diksha. Okay. And we should be able to explain how Srila Prabhupada is our foundational master for finding our mission in his mission. Transition. So now we go to a green motif in the color, because now we're entering, starting tomorrow night, prayojana, which means, knowledge, process, result. Sambandha, abhideya, prajana. Now, based on our increased commitment to the mission, then we qualify to deepen our love for Prabhupada. We saw this in a little bit, that video. Famous 1974 Rath Yatra, San Francisco, when Prabhupada was jumping up and down on the cart. If you've ever seen this movie, Prabhupada's leaping up and down and the devotees go wild. This person starts jumping out of his skin when Prabhupada starts going up and down, Yeah. So, that's a famous shot. Okay. As we find and develop our mission, to help our founder Acharya re-spiritualize human society, we'll be better able to develop real love for him. In the next lesson, we'll look at why that intimacy with Srila Prabhupada that we hanker for can be so elusive. What does elusive mean?
Not real.
No, not elusive, but elusive. Elusive. If something eludes you, what does it do? It escapes you. Something's elusive. It's like last night I was up late because I couldn't go to sleep because these mosquitoes are dive bombing me. And how when you try to catch a mosquito, it's like, you can't do it because they're so elusive. They just sort of have this flutter action, and they have a way of fluttering away. So, we hear about Prabhupada, maybe even we saw Prabhupada like me, but maybe we feel distant and we want to know, why is that? How come I can't get closer to Prabhupada? So we'll learn about how to do that. And the first lesson in this section is to love is to cooperate. That was Prabhupada. He didn't just say that at the end of his life. Famously, most devotees know this, that he said that in his farewell days. But he was always saying this, because he was so determined that what happened to his own spiritual master's mission would not happen to ISKCON. They didn't cooperate, he wanted us to cooperate. So he wouldn't just fragment and scatter and splinter all over the place. And already we've had so much fragmentation, but still there's a lot of positive signs, a lot of hope. We can have more unity amidst our diversity. Okay, so that's tomorrow night's lesson, and now I will sit down for questions and comments. Whoop. Anyone? Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, actually my question is a little bit of controversial kind of question.
It's okay, we welcome that.
It's relating to our society, ISKCON, because times, since in the slide itself, it was the Prabhupada said that we should know each other for 1 year, the Guru and disciple. And what happens is when you aspiring from some Guru or within Prabhupada's movement, okay, you take initiation. But over the time, it happens that you're not able to gain that access to the Guru, because whenever it comes to temple also, there are lots of the so-called stalwarts who are already there to take a Guru Dev, and then if you want to take access, no, you can't meet him. So it becomes very, Vani is there, but they will say, oh, come to the lecture Bhagavatam class, Maharaj will give darshan. And then Vani is there, but then the Vapu connection, they will give thoughts like, oh, Prabhupada only met his Guru spiritual master four times. So, but they don't understand that we are not Prabhupada. We are just a small, not even trying to...
Okay, well it sounds like you're giving a personal testimonial here, is that?
No, not, I have seen this happen all across, so this
Okay.
is...
Well, yeah, this is why I'm saying that before one takes initiation, one has to see what's going on. There's no rush to judgment on initiation. How long did Prabhupada take?
11 years.
Yeah, that's because of the circumstances in his life. He just wasn't, he was traveling as a pharmaceutical sales, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was traveling, exploding his mission all over the place. So it's not, we shouldn't rush to judgment, we shouldn't rush into initiation, nor should we avoid it. Everything in good time. That said, as we approach initiation, we have to see what the situation is. So some people are very comfortable with not being so close to their Guru like that, because they want to keep a little distance maybe, They don't want to be so surrendered, or they want to be distant. Some people like that. But some people, will crave more vapu. So that's something you have to see. Some person may be very great, but is that person going to know you personally? And will you have access to that person? Will you be satisfied with that? Some people will be satisfied. I just want to be the disciple of a great person, and I don't care if I don't speak to the person so much, or So that's part of the whole process. That's really important. Otherwise, if you just take initiation for the wrong reasons, right? That person's great, therefore I must be great, because I'm a disciple of the great. So I'm, Or just because you're in a certain zone, that's not the right reason. When you take initiation in ISKCON, you're buying into a whole God family, a whole mood, a whole circumstance, a whole situation, like you just described a scenario, the stalwarts and this and that. And so you have to be honest and thoughtful and take your time. And if after some time you see, this is what I want, then do it. But don't do it prematurely and then complain later. I didn't have access. Well, come on, you saw that, right? You saw the person's... the same thing with most of us with Srila Prabhupada, frankly. By the time, even when I joined in 1970, and that was kind of when it really all went really big, just exploded. And the more, and as the years went on, fewer and fewer people had access to Prabhupada, that way. But because Prabhupada is so powerful, was and is so powerful, somehow we were all very satisfied, because we were all reading his books and executing his mission, and we would see him once a year, usually. He'd swing by our part of the world as he was circling the globe. Usually, I averaged once a year for 7 years, seeing him. So, but as you say, we're not Prabhupada, so are we going to be satisfied not seeing our Diksha Guru? That's why I gave the example of My godbrother Krishna Kshetra Swami, when he initiates people, remember what I told you, what he does? He encourages at initiation his disciples to develop healthy local shiksha relationships with senior devotees, so that they won't feel neglected or adrift or, abandoned or whatever. So, yeah, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So do this all beforehand. That's why now the GBC has mandated that people can't even take initiation in ISKCON until they've taken this disciples course. Because this is a big part of the disciples course. Why take and how to aspire. As I told the Dubai people when I was there last time teaching this seminar series, if you encourage people here in the Middle East to prematurely aspire for initiation, without knowing what they're really doing, it's just sentimental, or it's just geography, or it's just charisma, or it's, if you don't really educate them, then they can aspire, but then pretty soon they'll start to perspire, and then they'll expire. It won't last. There'll be frustration, disappointment, anger, and then they'll go away. So you got to be very careful.
One more question, Guruji. This is a personal kind of question, but still I'm asking on a public forum. I spoke to my spiritual master, my Gurudev, okay, and he told me to call me regularly, okay.
Call him?
Call him regularly,
okay,
to speak with him. But I was just thinking, if I want to speak to my spiritual master, I should have something tangible to say.
Yeah, right.
It's out of, his greatness that he wants me to speak every fortnight or something. But then I feel very shy to call him, and I don't have any matter to talk. What should I call? Oh, why Maharajai, Guru Maharajai, wake up at 7 o'clock today, went to office, then came back. So, is this, I'm just lamenting that whether I'm not fulfilling my Guru's instruction or what it is, I'm just...
Well, has he, do you call him every fortnight?
No, I am just thinking that there should, he said to me that you should call me whenever you want to speak to me. So,
yeah, well, I'm sure he feels that way too. He doesn't want you to do some mechanical check-in,
Yes. So I was just thinking that what should I should have something tangible to call to him, to give some,
Well, how would you do that? How would you have something tangible? What to do to make that happen? You'd have to, increase your service or do something.
Yes.
So that's a good, if he's serious, he didn't just say that, oh yeah, call me every 2 weeks. If he really wants that, then that's like a real inspiration to get involved in something vital, to maybe you could do something for him personally, some project, I don't know. Yeah. Otherwise, he doesn't want idle chatter. You know the story of Prabhupada, the first telephone in ISKCON? You know that story?
No.
26 2nd Avenue. Somebody decided to get Prabhupada a phone. And it was America, so he got it right away. It wasn't like India, especially back then. It didn't take a year or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. The Prabhupada got a phone. And then the first night, Prabhupada had a telephone. Somebody called him up. Because they knew he had a phone, and they got the number, And Prabhupada answers the phone, Bhaktivedanta Swami. Oh, Swamiji, how you doing? Now so Prabhupada says, is this a very good question to ask in the middle of the night? So the next day, you know what Prabhupada said? I think to Mukunda, because I think Mukunda perhaps had gotten him the phone. I'm not sure about that, but whoever got him the phone, Prabhupada said, get out this telephone. I don't want this telephone anymore. This is simply a disturbance. So yeah, there has to be a reason. So, but if the guru really wants you to do that, then that's a wake-up call. Okay, I got to get involved in some project that he'll want to hear about every fortnight or whatever it is. So.
Guruji, I have one nice Shiksha Guru who regularly guides me. So he says that we should not take initiation unless the burning desire comes up, that this material world is really frustrating and we really need Krishna shelter now. So what if that burning doesn't come only in the last pratyush? That really desperation doesn't come only, then what we should do?
Okay, it's the Shiksha Guru said you shouldn't take that step.
We should get initiated when the really burning desire is there, that we really want now. Actually, we need Guru in life. What if that doesn't come?
Well, it'll never come unless we are sufficiently awake. In other words, just think about our situation. What is our situation? Kamala jala dala jivana talamala. Any moment, any day, any year, life is so precarious. I mean, you can walk out of the temple tomorrow and get flattened by a truck or something. You know George Harrison, right? You know of him. Okay. So in 1999, 2 years before he passed away, George, he died of lung cancer. So, but in 1999, he was attacked by a crazy fan with a knife at his home in England. And it's only because his wife hit the guy over the head with a lamp that George survived. He was stabbed, and the knife, the incision came this far, just a few centimeters from a vital artery, which would have killed him. So after George had recovered a little, he was interviewed, and George was really Krishna conscious, so he paraphrased Govinda Das's song, Bhaja. Is that Bhaja Hooray? Bhaja Mana Hooray? Hooray Mana, yeah. So George said, well, life, is precarious. He said this to the press, as a raindrop on a lily leaf. That's what we call a lotus in the West, a lily. As a raindrop on a lily leaf. So he took the opportunity to preach. So unless you're really hearing that, unless you're really grounded in reality, and Shastra's reality, you're in fantasy land here in Mumbai. This is Bollywood land. Then you forget that how precarious life is. You don't know how long you have. Parikshit, we think, oh, poor Parikshit only had a week to live. Hey, he had a notice. He was lucky. We don't know. Yeah. So, what to do if the desire isn't there? Well, I have to say, just wake up, and then even when you wake up, and then you got to begin the serious look, for that person. Who's that? Who is that person? So, but that's good. But that Shiksha Guru's advice could also be taken another way. Just like there's that Rupa Goswami verse, I forget the Sanskrit, but it's, my dear friend, if you would all want to enjoy the company of friendship, society, and love in the material world, in the material sense, then don't go down to the banks of Keshigat, where this threefold bending form, this person of Krishna is playing his flute. Don't look upon Krishna, because then you'll never want to enjoy in the material world anymore. So the Acharyas point out this is Rupa's way of saying you must go see Krishna. You must do that, because this other stuff is just, when we all need friendship, society, and love in relationship to Krishna. But to try to enjoy separately from Krishna, it's a fantasy, because those people really can't help us, and we can't help them. We can't really be anybody's friend, or parent, or lover, in the real sense, unless we're all helping each other get back to Krishna. He's our real relationship. So, yeah, you have to challenge yourself, although, yeah, what am I going to, and so then you got to take the steps. Okay, how am I going to get this desire? You got to hear. It starts with hearing. And, my God, do you listen to the news at all? Do you hear the news?
No.
All you got to do is, you don't hear the news? You know what's, all you got to, if you want to get scared or if you want to get disgusted, just turn on the news. It's just all crazy. It just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. Everything is on the verge. Because the media knows this is their psychology. The reason it's all bad, and it is all bad, but the reason they kind of inflame it is because everybody wants to hear how everybody else is suffering. We say in English, misery loves company. Right? Because everybody really is having a hard time in the material world. So when you hear how it's even worse for somebody else, the latest mass murder, or the latest beheading from ISIS, or the latest financial collapse, the latest fire or flood, or then the media knows that this is, people are going to tune into this because there's some vicarious pleasure there. Oh, at least I'm not like that, they're going to think. So, yeah, the world's full of suffering, the material world. So, take it from Uncle Suresvara, the older you get, you know that, my God, Shastra is right. My own body is not what it was, and it's my own mind, and, whatever, everything. And I'm getting, this is the last lap. This body is 69 years old. Hey, most astrologers say I have maybe a dozen more years left. If you believe in your palm or your Jyotish or whatever, whatever. It could be tomorrow, but where am I going to go? Well, that depends on how I absorb myself. So, Jeev Jago.
This question is about duty, to know one's own duty. It's like in this material world, for a girl like me, at this present moment, studies is her duty, what others say. So in this case, how to determine if somebody suggests you that do this course or this is what you have to be, and if you have some other desire to do, so how will you differentiate what is my exact duty in this body or in this life, which is the right path? Because as I heard in lecture, the speaker was saying that in Varnashram Dharma, when a child born, they keep 4 things, Bhagavad Gita, money and other things, so that it determines the nature of the child. So from that, the teacher in the Gurukul trains them. So
just from that one samskar? They go by that?
Yes.
Oh, come on.
So now we can, as you said, it is a mixed population. So how can you actually determine from, on which path we must proceed?
Well, it takes many people, actually. That's why the first lesson we had, one thing I said was, if it takes a village to raise a child, they say in Africa, then we say it takes a sampradaya to raise a sadhaka. It takes many people. And when you have, in a perfect world, it starts with your parents. Most of us, I don't know about you folks in India, but in America, most of us didn't have devotee parents. Now, a lot of people do. Are your parents devotees? Yeah, oh, you're lucky. Yeah, it's good. But still, you're going to hear so many different advice, right? So many different people, and that's why I put up that Know Thyself for Krishna exercise up there. Okay, we'll do it with you. So what's that activity? Doing which you forget time. It's your, I'm not talking about eating, sleeping, mating, and defending now. We're all very good at that. We know, we're all in body sabati here, right? But I'm talking about a tendency toward work, action. So, what's your favorite kind of service? Do you have one?
Yeah. Till now, what I could recognize is that when I produce some videos or movies, or when I get involved in making some videos,
Creating.
I don't see my watch.
Okay, so you have that kind of artistic, that videography, whatever. So that's something that could translate into some work for you?
Yes, I'm serving in ISKCON Desiratory.
Oh, okay.
So there I get this chance of serving in Krishna conscious, making videos
Mm-hmm.
for ISKCON Desiratory and Krishna related videos.
Okay, and then in school, what kind of
It's in theory, law.
law? Your parents want you to be a lawyer.
They want me to be a company secretary. It's like,
Wait a minute, so why are you going to law school? What's that all about?
Company secretary, you have to be aware of corporate laws. So
Oh.
law is very important.
Oh, I see.
Company secretary.
Yeah, a legal secretary.
yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
okay, that kind of thing.
Not a legal secretary.
No?
For company, he's a person who
Oh.
incorporates and legally look over the company
Yeah.
corporate sector.
Okay. Well, do you like that?
No.
Okay, I'm not going to get in between you and your parents. And of course, you think someday you'll get married?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's also in the mix too, you know. But of course, more and more these days, you know, both spouses work. So it's like, yeah. See, industrialism really made everything haywire because it got people out of simple living and got them all in these cities and running a rat race to make money, and so it's all kind of mixed up. But anyway, I won't say anything further. But you have to really just, you know, come to terms with that. Are you engaged to be married? Okay. All right. I don't know you. You don't know me. So I won't go any further.
But then I just wanted to ask, okay, how can you get to know what is your actual nature in doing certain things, as in duty? How can exactly we can determine that this is what my prescribed duty, or this is what my nature tells me?
Mm-hmm.
So how could we?
Well, again, it starts with the parents, then it goes with the teachers, and then it goes with the spiritual masters. So it's like, it's a progression, and you have to, you know, in the perfect world, we have advice from people who really have our best interest at heart. They're not just making us, you know, extensions of themselves, or trying to remake us in their image. Or, you know, they really have your best interest at heart, and they want you to be happy, and they want you to be practical, so you can live in the world. So, are you in touch with any senior devotees?
Yes.
You are? Do you have any close relationships with senior devotees? That would be helpful. So, can I ask your age?
19.
19. See?
Next month 20.
Okay. I asked that in that way because, you know, when you get to be my age, everybody looks like a teenager. Because the older you get, the younger everybody else looks. And it's just amazing, you know. I thought, no, maybe she's 30. Who knows? I don't know. Anyway, try to surround yourself with people who really want to help you and have your best interest at heart. And pray to Krishna. He knows how sincere you are, and he wants you to be happy and healthy. and make the right choices. Not easy in Kali Yuga. It was simpler in former ages when we had a varnashram culture, and life was simpler. Now everything is very upside down and backwards and complicated. Okay, on that note, confirmed by the Conch. All right, please come. Tomorrow night this is really. I'm writing right now. I'm turning this lesson into an article. I turned tonight's lesson to an article. I submitted it a few days ago to Back to Godhead, and this one I'm doing about halfway through. But it's really Prabhupada's Mahavakya, his great utterance. He was really determined that ISKCON, make it, and it's not going to make it until we really understand that we all share the same core identity. We're all Prabhupada Anugas, Prabhupada people, regardless of our generation or our country or our God family. He is the unity amidst our diversity, and that's what this picture is conveying. That's what you'll hear me say tomorrow night. Those people in the picture, they're so different, and they're so strong-minded, and they're so individualistic, rugged individualists. But they're all cooperating because Prabhupada's the center of them, and they're all ecstatic. So that's the key of how ISKCON can go on, regardless of the zone or the God family, like I say, generation. 10,000 years is a long time. That's what Prabhupada said. His books will be the law books for, he said, mankind, not just for ISKCON. That means we're going to have to take this to every town and village. So, yeah. He is the unity amidst our diversity. And that's the key to cooperation, finding the unity amidst our wild diversity. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.